Hi everyone and welcome to She. This week on She we have two amazing guests, and I know I say this on every show and maybe you're like, okay Faith, last week's were awesome, now this week they're awesomer, if there's a word like that. And I'm also really excited because the topic we have today is one that you need to get a notebook and just be ready to write down, because we're talking about money. And not just money, money and babies. You know, because kids come with diapers, expressing machines, they have allergies that need to be taken to hospital. But you know, I won't say too much because maybe there's someone there who's like, I want to have children, and maybe I'm discouraging them with this list. Please have babies, but today we'll just talk about, you know, just what comes with babies, because it's easy to just think about the baby and forget the bills that come with it. But they're a blessing, but they're bills, you know. And that's what we'll be talking about today. And these ladies here have aced it, you know, so they need drum rolls as we begin to, you know, just talk about this money thing. And I know we never really get there, but you know, there's stuff that you can tell us, you know, and teach us. Let's start with you. Introducing yourself as we start.
Thank you. My name is Carol Mukuha. I'm a medical doctor by profession. I'm married to one Brian Gatimu, and we have been blessed with 3 children.
Wow.
Who are 11, 8, and 4.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen God's faithfulness in providing as we've had those children. So
yeah.
I'm happy to talk about that.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Njoki Kaigai. I am a child of God. I am a wife to George Mutune, and we have been blessed with 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. Shiro, 9, Dayo, 2.5, and Keheo, 5 months now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I like the Kikuyu vibe in the names. That's really awesome. So let's just get into this. You know, there's, in this current age, do I say, or in this world, because I hear even my mom saying the same thing, you know, like those days you want to have many children, but people are like, you know, where will the money come from? So I don't think it's a thing of this age, maybe just a bit more in this age where now people are like, okay, just have 1 child, you know, because, you know, school fees and all those things. And it's sense, right? It makes sense. But I'm just curious, you each have 3. Did you ever think like, okay, I stop at 3 because like, you know, that's how many loaves of bread when they are teenagers, you know, and things like that, or it's school fees times 3 or whatever it is times 3. Did those thoughts cross your mind when you're thinking of having children? You first, before we talk about what the world thinks. Yeah. Anyone can go first.
All right, so I always wanted to have 3 kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from when I was 17, actually. Very interesting, you know, someone came to high school and we wrote vision boards and something like that. And I said when I wanted to get married, when I wanted to graduate from medical school. When
At 17?
Ooh.
Wow, you're so focused.
I know, right? It was interesting because when I was older, when I was about 29, and I was actually pregnant with my first one, I went to my mom's house and we were clearing things, and I found that notebook where I'd written that.
Amazing.
I was like, wow. I did get my medical degree when I wanted it. I did get married at 26, as I said.
Wow.
And I was having my child before 30, as I had asked. So I was like, oh, wow. But yes, that was then. After I had first baby, and all that we went through with baby number 1, her name is Hadassah. She's now 11. At some point, I thought, you know what? I think this is enough. This is just enough. Life really changed in many ways.
In what way?
In many ways. For example, living. How we lived. When it was just my husband and I for about the first 2 years, we were just comfortable and cozy. Now when baby was coming, we were thinking, oh, now we need to have another room.
Oh, yes.
Or we're going to have a nanny because we were both working. So I'm going to have another person. So it's the family is not just growing by one.
Yeah.
It's going to actually have to be another person to take care of the home. It's someone we don't know. That just means even money-wise, in terms of our food budget will change.
Yeah.
And of course, it was the first baby, so I think I made a very big fuss about it.
Yeah.
I shopped and shopped and shopped. And
The necessary and unnecessary. At that time, they all seem important.
they all seemed very important. And I really bought so many clothes that my first baby, some of them she never wore them at all. She grew so fast and she couldn't catch up with all that I had planned in terms of what she needed to wear, in terms of I had health challenges when I first had my first baby, and what it took to have her with the clinic visits and everything, and me and my health challenges, and me us trying to manage, my husband and I trying to manage our finances. At some point we thought, I think we are good. I'm fine. I'm okay.
Yeah.
So eventually I'm here with 3.
What changed?
What changed? My second baby, Shananjeri, came about 2.5 years after the first one. And I must say, it was not planned for that way. At that point, I had warmed up to having a second one.
Yeah.
But it was at a time when, and as a young woman, you're building a young family. You and your husband, you're both young. You're building your career, So your finances are not exactly where they should be. So at that point, I had decided to do a master's. I was doing an MBA at Strathmore at the time. I was just starting. Paying for my fees and, all the needs of the family and the baby was tough. So we were planning to have the baby, but later. We had agreed, okay, maybe we can have a second one, but later. So when she came, I must admit it was a bit stressful. It was, because I was like, wow, we are not ready. Do we have the money for it? I remember it was at a time, actually at that point, I was in a fixed term contract kind of situation at my work. I had practiced clinical practice for a bit as a doctor. Then I'd moved into another hospital where I was moving into management, and it was like a contractual agreement. So there was no, actually what stressed me the most was that there was no medical insurance. The way when you're employed, many times you have some insurance. So this one we had to think, okay, what are we going to do? We are paying my fees, which was hefty. What are we going to do? But I must say, God was really faithful. God was really faithful. We managed to do all of that, do the MBA.
All bills paid.
All bills paid.
That's
baby number 2 came on board. And now when I look back at the 2 girls, because now the first 2 are girls, it was perfect timing. They're not too far from each other. They are very good friends. In fact, at that time when the older one was 2.5 and this one was just a baby, or when she was just starting school and this one was looking up to her, I could just see that this was just perfect time. At that time, I was thinking just about myself, and my husband and I were just stressing about our situation, and we were not seeing the grand picture, the grand scheme of things. That
how God was seeing it.
How God was seeing it.
Yeah.
And at that point, we had said, that's it. We are done. At least I was completely sure we're done. Until my older daughter was now 6, and every night she prayed for her brother.
Those prayers.
Single night. You can't negotiate with a 6-year-old. She said, we used to read Bible stories, and every time we read, I remember one time we read the story of Hannah. and how she prayed for a baby, and eventually the son. She said, okay, that was her cue. I'll never stop. I'm not going to stop praying. She prayed every evening. And then her father warmed up to it, and then eventually I said,
You
okay,
warmed up
fine.
as
I warmed up as well. And now we have 3. And now, and I look back to what I wrote that time. I actually had written I wanted 2 girls and a boy. Yes.
Powerful manifestations.
I know. And it's interesting that at that age, gosh, I don't think I ever thought about how many children I wanted to have.
You know, up to date, I'm a sucker for vision boards. Write it down. You know, make it plain.
Yes, it's
Write
true.
it down. It
Word.
actually does.
Yeah.
Only that when I was in that situation, I was like, no, that plan, no. I think no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I've
interesting.
also had conversations with my mother and with my aunties. Some of whom have had, my mom has 2 children, just me and my younger brother, and another auntie of mine who has also just 2 children. So they kept saying, please don't stop. Please don't say you'll have only one. You know, you think things are strained right now, and it's going to be difficult. But later, you know, we came to desire more. So, you know, I thought, maybe there's some wisdom.
It's true.
In what the
And
older women are
statistics
saying.
shows they say up to 88% women regret that they didn't have more children.
Is it?
88% of older women regret and say that they didn't have like all the children they should have had. So I guess there's a point in your aunties and your mom.
Yeah.
And for you, what has been your story?
I had thought of having 10 children.
10.
What?
10. Yes. And I used to tell my older sisters, especially our firstborn, who is a girl, and I used to tell her I want to have 10 children. And they will just look at me and laugh about it, you know, like she didn't know what she's saying. Because in those days, you remember we used to be sent a lot to go and babysit for our aunties, and I babysat. I can count more than 10 that I have babysat.
And it didn't make you think, now this sector I am done, I don't want to.
No, I just felt like I'm a guru in this, you know?
Wow.
I took care of many children. I look back now and I'm like, whoa, these children are now all done with campus, now working.
Wow.
Some now have children, you know. So every holiday you'll be like, hey, you're going to Auntie Nani's house to look after their children. You're going to, you know. And I actually, for a long time, one of my hobbies was babysitting. I just enjoyed
Like how people put hobbies on their CV.
You know, yes, mine babysitting.
That's very interesting.
Yes, I love playing with children until I got my first baby. And hobbies changed. Yeah. And who is now 9? Shiro is now 9. And it's been a very beautiful journey because when I got Shiro, I was not married. And at that point, I didn't think I even wanted to get married. So I did the mother-father thing, you know. And when it came to finances that we are talking about now, I knew I had planned ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. I have been in business ever since I completed college. And yeah, so I am that person who, you know, I'm a serial entrepreneur, trying this and this and this and this. But I've been running the business that I do now for, this is the 12th year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We started out as an events company, but at the back of my mind, I knew what I was getting into this business to do was to help businesses transform. And so now I am a business transformation specialist, consulting for businesses that are looking to, you know, to grow, like are looking for direction. And at that point, when I was about to have Shiro, I had done a deal, a business that went south. And we made losses. And that was in December 2014.
Wow.
And the baby was to come in May 2015. And I'd put in personal finances. You know, when you're running a company and you're not able to decide or even distinguish personal finances and business finances. Yeah, and I had to quickly think, what do? I knew I wanted to be home for 1 year. I did not want to, yes, I wanted to take a maternity break for 1 year.
Oh, wow.
And things are not looking good. So what do?
Yeah.
Jumped onto something else, being this corporate woman running big time events. And I thought, what do? I started selling cabbage.
Cabbage.
Yes.
Okay, that's a different shift. I didn't see that.
Yes. And I met up with a friend of mine who owned a lorry for many years. And he said, yeah, you can use my lorry. So where do I start? I go to the farms up in Kinangop and what do you call that place, Flyover. Got to the farms, negotiated for cabbage. It was peak season in the soko because you'll buy cheap and sell,
Expensive.
you know?
Like at a margin.
Exactly, at a margin. And what I had in mind was, my goal was to save for 1 year, you know, to be home for 1 year. So I knew I needed all these good things I wanted. I needed money for help. I needed, you know, just to be comfortable for 1 year. Yeah, and faithfully, I got to the market the first day, I remember. And we would cash in 100%. Yeah. But it was tough because you had to go to the farms. I'm heavily pregnant. Identify, negotiate with farmers, brokers, hapo, come to Marikiti, sell. So it's crazy. You're waking up at 2 a.m., go to the soko. Then
this is you who's
this is me.
Waking up.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, it's so difficult to even wake up. Like you just
I
want
know,
to
there are
sleep.
times you just want to sleep. Yeah, so anyway, the baby came. One of the things that was, for me, very significant is that the company just took a dip. You know, you are the mastermind. We had ran 2 big events that were in series. And now you have gone on maternity and no one knows what you had in mind. It was your brainchild. Yeah, and everything seemed to just take a standstill. Yeah. And so at that point, I realized, I started writing down and I was like, I will not again go on maternity and have the company stop. I have to think about how this continues. And I realized I'm not in business. I'm self-employed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the company took a break, literally. And I was able to actually manage a whole year, which was not
Financially
easy.
even, because you're still alone at this point.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. But I kept it simple. I would say it's important to plan ahead. I would say the beginning of the finance journey, when you're planning for children, even though you're not able to plan for children, is planning ahead. When the pregnancy happens, for example, that may have not been planned, but you have a whole 9 months to plan. You know? Yes, and so I don't believe in mtoto yukuja na sahani yake. Sababu hakuji nayo. Well, as a Christian and through the journey, then there are certain things that happen and you realize truly, yes, they do. But you
still have to plan.
You still have to plan. You can't sit and wait for the plate.
And the food.
Yes, the children come crying. Yeah? Crying when they're wet, crying when they're hungry, you know. Yeah, and I managed. But I moved back to my mom's house.
Okay.
I moved back to my mom's house. And it only made sense. At that point, my mom was like, how will you manage on your own without help? How will you manage with this help you do not know? And I moved back to my mom's house, which was, at that point, I was like, I'm moving in for 6 months only, and I'm back to my house. 6 months became years, which were fulfilling years, especially for my daughter.
I can imagine.
Yes, they were really fulfilling for her. It was a nice place when the grandma was around. And then it was easy to get support and help from my siblings. When I look back now, I think even for Shiro, they were the most fulfilling years of her life, because she had space in the farm, you know, that...
Or no concrete jungle.
No, exactly.
I get you.
Yeah, I know we have listeners and viewers we have single parent families, we have, you know, both parent families, some by choice, some not by choice.
Yeah.
Planning for me was really, really important. And keeping it simple. You don't have to eat nyama. You don't have to eat meat to have protein. If anything, pulses or cereals are better, are healthier.
Yeah, it's true.
I would say resources like seeing a lactation before the baby came was very helpful. Who is still my lactation to date, she's called Mrs. Kamau. And she advised on a diet that was balanced, stocking up on milk. And so certainly that means I needed a manual,
Oh, you mean milk? Like,
yes,
okay.
breast milk.
Okay.
Yeah, and she insisted on how important it was to feed your baby on breast milk because of immunity and, you know, all those things.
Yeah.
And so she helped me think through something simple and affordable. And so I will shop for monthly pulses. For example, I'll do beans, I'll do dengu, I'll do kamande.
What they call batch cooking.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll boil and freeze.
Yeah.
And so it was easy. Managing your time. Times you'll not have help. Yeah. And in terms of, say, one other thing that was an overhead expense was diapers. Yeah. So, yeah, also buying in wholesale when you can. Save a few coins. Basically, I'll say for everything, planning ahead, doing batch wholesale buying really, really helped. Yes.
And you know, so many times when you're thinking about having a baby, there's this whole list. You know, I don't know if you got that Excel, like there's an Excel that just goes
At
around.
Biashara Street.
Yes, that's where it comes
They
from.
even give you a list. Yeah.
Yes, and you know, that list is like so long. You look at it, you're like, what? And I remember, was it for, I think for my fourth, I got even a wet wipe warmer.
Hey.
No, and like I remember being so fascinated. I'm like, my friend, I am so
have to
posh
get
this time round. I think I used it once or twice. You know, you don't even remember that it
You have
exists when it's time to change the baby, to put the wipes in there for them to warm. Then, you know, you don't even think about it. You just change the baby and move on. You know, and so there are things that are necessary, but you know, not really. Like you don't really need them. If you're to go through a list and go like, this is what you really need for a baby. And now we're just talking about a newborn. We haven't gotten to where they school and all that.
Yeah.
Like what, like would you say are your top 5 things? Like ones of like, you're a new mom, please get those top 5 things.
I must say, of course, she's fresh at it. So let me start with the rustier one. Having a 5-month-old.
I know.
But I must say, of course, clothes. But then, as I say that, I must say you shouldn't buy too many.
Yeah.
One thing about especially the 0 to 6 months is they grow very quickly.
fast, yeah.
And it is expected that they should have been double their weight by first 3 months, and then, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't want to buy too many. And then you're most likely always in the house and mostly covered. Like nobody will notice whether the romper was, you wore it again last week. It's not like you going to the office or something.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, so if I can draw from my experience, I'd say buy clothes, don't buy too many. Buy them staggered so that you don't have 0 to 3 months clothes only. And 3 months is there and you don't have bigger clothes and the child is already outgrown them. That's what
Yeah.
happened to me with the first one.
Oh, wow.
I had so many unworn clothes.
Yeah.
But then I also just bought 2 more than I needed.
Yeah.
So just buy enough clothes, right? And then after that, of course, diapers are going to be important. And I must say, she said, yes, they're expensive. But, okay, before I go to the but, there's blankets and shawls for when the baby is small. Don't overdo it again because they'll only need it for the first few. Once they're sitting up and wanting to
they
move,
don't want to be covered anymore.
never ever want to be covered again. Yeah. And of course, then where the baby sleeps, that's important. Where does the baby sleep? So is it a cot for you? It depends on the kind of family and what you have.
And the space.
And the space you have. Is it then the mattress and the bed sheets and whatever comes with the bed? I think on a big scale, that's it.
Yeah.
But then now, if you're breastfeeding and you need to go to work, then you'll need a pump.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be home, maybe that's not completely necessary. There's actually even manual breastfeeding.
Yes.
I mean,
Manual
pumping, yeah. And then, of course, then if you're going to need to pump, then you need to think where you'll store. So you must have, of course,
like a
freezer space,
and
right?
containers for us.
Yes.
Yeah, and containers or those now pockets, storage bags that are now there. Yeah.
Would you add anything to that list?
Yeah, I will say for me, we mostly think just about the baby, but who's feeding the baby? It's the mother. Make sure you're stocked up on food.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's true.
Yes.
For you.
And healthy food.
And
lest
healthy food.
all your hair falls off your bones and teeth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and these things you learn with experience. With the first baby, you're thinking about all these things. It's clothes, it's a bed, it's pump, it's all these cool things. Yeah. And as baby number 2, baby number 3 comes, you realize, it's more important that I'm in good health as the mother.
Yeah.
Then I'm able to serve the children, or rather that particular child better. So I'll say, think through what is your diet as a mother to be well fed. Invest in your peace of mind.
Yeah.
Yes, because you could eat well, but the milk will not come.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stay healthy.
I get you.
Yeah. So for me, I say cultivate an environment of peace, not just for you, for your baby also. I think as mothers, we've noticed when you are stressed up,
The whole house is stressed.
Exactly. And especially that one who's nursing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They will cry more when you cry.
Yes, it's so true.
Yeah. So I'll say for me, in order of priority is to think about you as the mom. What will you eat? How will you spread out your meals? Healthy meals, for sure. Healthy, affordable meals. Baby clothes. Since my firstborn, I always buy clothes until 2 years. Because also time to go to the market within those first 2 years
that's
is not
why
exactly it's not easy to come by. So spread out 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9. Whether it's hand-me-downs, whether you're buying, just have enough.
Just have to.
Yes, just have
2
enough.
years,
Exactly, for 2 years. Then I would say a place to sleep. If you choose to sleep with a baby, it is okay. Yes, those are factors that are informed by how much space do you have, what can you afford. Even though the medics will advise that you don't sleep with your children. Yes, and I think we've seen how unsafe it is. Like, even as a mother, you sleep and forget that your baby is sleeping by your side. And you will cover them, Yeah, so if you can afford, it's important to have, you can come from
Whatever
a bassinet. Exactly.
But,
I know.
Yeah.
It's a container, actually. These days, the baskets, they're making the bassinets. Yeah, and you slowly graduate to a cot. And again, you don't have to buy a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of second-hand in the market. You can,
hand-me-downs.
yes, you can get a hand-me-down. I think for me, those are primarily the most important. Then the rest
will come.
The rest are
you need
details.
them, really.
The rest are details.
I must add too. And it's not for everyone. I think now that we're talking about planning, it's important that you plan about the health of the baby and the mother. So, God forbid, but sometimes you might be ill or the baby might be ill immediately after. Like my second born baby was sick exactly 5 days after she was born. We went back to hospital and were admitted now. Admitted after discharge within 24 hours. I'm a doctor. I'm like, I've got this is fine. And here I was back with a sick baby. So those things of if you're if you can afford it, it would be nice that you have an insurance. If you already had one, then it means you need to plan to include the baby once they are born as soon as possible, immediately into the cover. If you do, if you don't, but then just plan around where is it nearest. Unfortunately, and now speaking like a medic, people need hospital mostly when between 0 and 5 years. And then later when you're older. Most of the time, a young, fit person doesn't need hospital. So most of the time, even a young lady will just need hospital when they are when they're having this maternity antenatal care hospital.
That's true.
Most of the time, the illnesses are homa here, homa there. But then 0 to 5, there's need for hospital, and then of course when older, we talk about our parents. So because that's society and that's how life is. In fact, in the medical field, we say 0 to 5 is special. In fact, even if you go to a public hospital, 0 to 5 care is free because
it's critical
and it's going to be needed a lot of times. Mostly because of what she was talking about, hygiene issues, is it nutrition? That's the time maybe we are discovering whether there's an allergy or there's asthma. That's the time.
And vaccinations.
Vaccinations, So health insurance and formula in case you don't have enough.
Yes,
that's true.
Yes, and formula costs an arm and then a leg and your head as well. I just want us to take a break, and I've just loved just listening to just the importance of planning ahead. Yes, we are saying that every child comes with their plate, but we still need to plan, because there's all these things. And I like the view of both the mother and the child. And when we come back, I just want us to just delve deeper into just all these seasons, because, and I think we touched on it a bit, where there are seasons where it abounds and there are seasons where there's lack, and how you've managed those seasons and what have you done where you have to cut back and where there's enough, so maybe you're saving more, etc. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll have more right here on She.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back. We're still here on She, and in case you're just joining us on radio, on TV, we're talking about finances and babies, money and babies, and we're just learning on their top 5 list. We've talked about the clothes, we've talked about just making sure you plan for those clothes till the child is 2 years. I'm suffering the fact that I didn't plan for that. I'm listening to you, I'm like, I should have done that, because now you still have to keep going back, to buy more, and you're like, you don't have time, and just all these things that are critical and important. And it's interesting that when you look at that Excel sheet that we get, it probably has like almost 50 things. And we've mentioned just 10 and the baby is good to go. You know, also just to show that sometimes it's just the marketing, you know, when they put all these baby warmers and co-sleeper, you know, like I remember for one of the babies, I had this small carved thing for the baby to sleep in. Then you have the baby cot and the bassinet. And at the end of the day, you're like, that bassinet, the child uses it, I think 3 months, and they're too tall for it,
They'll
you know.
grow it.
Yeah, so I guess think through all those things, because it's not everything, and all those things look so cute, but you don't need all of them.
Yeah.
And now just thinking deeper into just managing money, you know, because families go through, you know, just the whole, you know, sort of seasons. And I'll never forget once being introduced to like something called Dave Ramsey. There's the book and everything, and it just talks about how to manage finances, build an emergency fund, you know, so that when things are hard, you have, you know, your finances, how to clear debt quickly, and talks about eating rice and beans, beans and rice, till all your debt is done and all that. And I'm just curious from you, are there things that you've done just in your journey to just make sure your finances stay sure? You know, so that when there's lack, you're not on the streets, you know, you're still able to pay your rent and still able to have enough. And when you are bound, what are you doing with that money? Is it time to, you know, be in Dubai today, New York tomorrow, and enjoy this money while it lasts? Or how do you handle those seasons? Because I think for especially a lot of young couples, you know, that one of the hardest things, or young people really, because you could be having a child and you're alone, is that how to manage that money so it works for you and living within your means as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious what that story is for you. Yeah, anyone can go first, really.
Yeah, I think you've said that thing, living within your means. Yeah, I think I've seen from high end to low end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me personally, with my husband, we've been through ups and downs, and that's life. And that's life. And with finances, things change. Even you can be a very good planner, like we're talking about plan, and then things don't always go according to plan. Yeah. So there are times when we had planned and we knew that, you know, we'd have enough finances, and then there's a certain business we invested in sometime later, and it didn't work out. And for one of the things that we had to do, for example, was move from our bigger house to a smaller house. We had to make it work.
Yeah.
And that's what it took. It doesn't mean that now we are stressed and now these children are no longer a blessing. No, we just had to re-strategize. You can't always have your ducks in a row to have those children, and then, you know, it's all gonna be perfect, because just life just has seasons, and things may not always work as we plan. One other thing I remember in one of those difficult times when we were cutting back, it meant not shopping in Parklands, even the market, going to Marikiti, going to somewhere in Githurai, so that we get things as cheap as I could, and buying in bulk. There was a season I discovered bulk shops in places where I would never have been.
And those queues in those bulk shops, you're like, people have been doing this all day. I'm just finding out.
How come it looks like I don't know where these Kenyans know, but you find queues, bulk shops, just buying things in bulk and at, you know, much more affordable prices. So especially for diapers, I discovered places in this Nairobi. Where
and also pray that your child is not allergic to
whatever one. You know.
So you can use the cheapest one.
Exactly.
You know.
Then you don't have to buy and then waste it.
Yeah.
But I even have a friend who even they are now reusable diapers that are not burning, that you can reuse. Those that if it goes to that, then you may have to make changes, but it is doable.
Wow.
And a child can still be raised.
It's true. That's very encouraging.
It's just that habit, and especially being in business, I'll say for me, has given me a lot of discipline, because for a long time, my business took very many years before I could say now I have actually made a profit. You know, we took, I think, up to the 7th year. And so I had to cultivate that culture of discipline. And I'll say it has played a big part in training me how to, you know, think before I spend. And I've also had to, because I know I have not had an account that is, you know, consistent, no pay slip. So it was not easy to get a bank loan. You see, I plan and buy things in cash. You see, and so yeah, for me that has helped.
Yeah.
The other thing I have seen many people stress about is the delivery unit, and so people want to go to high-end hospitals. People will stress about insurance. If you can't afford it, it's okay. We have very many good facilities. Yeah, and I remember someone spoke, and one thing I took away from them then was get to a facility, spend the least possible when delivering. It's 5 minutes business max,
Yeah.
especially if you are favored to have your baby normal birth. And then get to enjoy your maternity instead of paying 400 Gs for a delivery when you could easily spend 20,000, you know? And now even have NHIF, where you could easily walk free, you know, get into a facility, have your baby, and walk home, you know, free of charge, and still get good services.
Okay, true.
So it comes from doing research on your choice of hospital. Where do I want to have this baby? It is important to have a medical cover, as she said. And so if you're fortunate to have that medical cover, yes, you can go to that facility, but also think about what if after this delivery we have an incident, you know?
Is there already ICU?
Is there already ICU?
Theater? And
Yes.
all that, yeah.
Will my cover meet this costs, you know?
In this hospital.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So think about when you're selecting a hospital, what if we need to be in this facility? Like I remember after my firstborn, I had to be in hospital, I think for another, was it 2 or 3 weeks?
Oh, wow.
For quite some time, because she had an infection. And so that was, I had put a buffer for myself, even though it came to higher than I had thought. You see, it gave me that flexibility.
Yeah.
It is okay.
And I'm curious about that buffer you're talking about, because so many times someone is like, but I only make 20 Gs, I only make 40 Gs, you know, like how do I save? You know, like I'm on, how they say you have more month than money at the end of the month.
True.
You know, because like it all comes in and goes. Like, is it possible to then have a buffer? Is it possible to save despite what your income is? Even as you prepare for the baby, as you start life with a baby, because then all this, you know, I think with children is when so many unexpecteds are there, you know, whether it's they're in school and the school tells you there's a trip, you know, there are just so many things. So how do you make sure that despite whatever you make, that there's still a buffer, that there's still a saving? Because I think that's a big deal when it comes to saving. And so many times people think you can't save if you're
can't
earning
afford
little. Yeah.
I'll say this about children, about parenting especially, that when children are here, they are here, and they have to grow.
Yes.
And just like the principle of parenting, whether you parent them or not, they will still grow. And so you have to be ready for the children. They want to eat. It's a responsibility as a parent to meet the needs of your children. They didn't ask you, you brought them. And so regardless of how little you earn or little you think you earn, you should be able to save something and then meet your needs at your level. There's a level for everyone. That is what I think. And so we have low-end hospitals for that level. We have high-end hospitals for that level. I think at the end of the day is living within your means is what matters.
Which is so hard for this generation.
It is very hard.
Yeah,
But then it saves you a lot of headache.
that's true.
When you're walking without having to look beyond your shoulder. When you know that you can have a full night's sleep because you're not owing. When you know that you can afford that smile and laugh with your children. It doesn't come easy. You don't always have to be worrying about, okay, so where will I go for immunization? It is all over. The government offers free immunization everywhere. I think even in private hospitals, it's free. So you don't have to go for what are they called? Baby friendly. Exactly. The government offers just as good
Do
quality.
you still think so as a medic?
I actually do. And
Yeah.
I'm one big advocate for, unless you really have the luxury of, the point of the baby friendly, by the way, is the pain at the time. It's not the potency or what. The vaccine is the vaccine. Yeah, so I mean, when you're at a point you need to manage your finances, you don't need to compare yourself with anyone else because your friend is doing baby friendly or not. You need to look for the most affordable for you. Yeah, and I think at any level, even with 10,000, I think because I've had the privilege of working even in mashinani areas, you know, women can really do anything for their children. That's what I've seen. So when you need to, you can do it.
Yeah.
When you need to be able, if you just earn 100 bob a day and you've decided it's 10% or it's 20%, I save. Women save for things. Chama here, this there, to buy, I don't know, pots and whatever for the house. So it's possible to save whether you're earning 10K, 20K, or you're at 500,000. It is possible to just be consistent and save and to live within your means. So yes, I agree. You do not have to do baby friendly unless you really have the luxury of it. Yeah.
And I think you bring up a very good point when you talk about comparison. Because I think one of the things that messes our finances is you get into social media and you see someone with a rear facing like pram or stroller, and you're like, this one of mine. You know, the other day I was at a mall pushing the pram that I've had for all my 4 kids, you know, and it's an old-fashioned kind. Then a mother passes me and she had, you know, the rear, it's called the new ones.
360 degree.
You can jog with it, so you can do what? It converts into, you know, like it's a convertible stroller. And I remember just going like, oh my gosh, I'll never get to enjoy. You know, and I just moved on. But, you know, so many times I think that sort of comparison is what messes us up. You know, you're there comparing yourself with your friends. You're like, gosh, my child uses this brand of diapers and this one uses this brand. Oh, I gave birth in this hospital. And, you know, and then you end up feeling that pressure and it pushes you to live at a certain standard that you can't afford. And yet you could also be, like you're saying, consistent all through. You know, have you felt that pressure of comparison?
Oh, pressure is always there.
How do you handle that pressure?
Pressure is always there. There's always someone in your life that is doing way better. That when you look at them, they always, when you think you've gotten the it thing, they have a better one. But there has to be that inner resilience to say, you can't be like them. You can't be like everybody. Right? And there are also always other people who are hoping to have what you have, right? That's life. Yeah, but it's important to know where you are and your place so that you don't compare in anything in life. So even as it is that way also in having babies. So if all your friends have had babies, and then you know, I don't want to mention a hospital, but in a high-end hospital, and they've paid those 350, 400K, and you don't have that kind of money, you haven't saved up that much, you don't have, it's fine that you go to somewhere else and have your baby, because at the end of the day, you and I are here, and it doesn't really matter that where I was born in.
At home.
Yeah, at home, in Pumwani, or you are born a gun, at the end of the day, it doesn't show. It's not written somewhere on the
your
baby's
face.
forehead or on your forehead. It's not. There's always going to be a feeling because you always desire something. So it's just like you saw the pram, but then there needs to be that inner resilience to say it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to it's okay to live within where I am. Yeah. So if this is what I can afford, let me live there. I think the biggest mistake would be to go into debt,
Trying to keep up.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you sit down, it doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, many of these things, especially in this 4th trimester, it doesn't matter. That baby doesn't remember that you bought their clothes at Toy or at Biashara.
Yeah, it doesn't
They outgrew it and it moved on.
Yeah. In 30 seconds, what is the one thing that you got as advice regarding finances and babies that totally stands out for you as a highlight in 30 seconds?
I'll say I'll go back to planning.
Okay.
Yes. I'll go back to planning. That's taking time to think through. Since it's not an emergency, you have a whole 9 months to plan. Plan everything. Plan everything to the T.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Plan and pray.
Yes, plan and pray.
Yes.
What would you say in your 30 seconds?
In my 30 seconds, I'd say God is faithful. Yeah. You look to him.
Yeah.
And he will provide. He actually will. Maybe not so that you can match with your competition or, but he will provide.
For you.
He will provide for you.
Yeah.
So over the years, if I can say that, she can say that, if our moms and aunties can say, don't worry too much. Bottom line, God is faithful. He will provide.
Yeah. I know my folks always talk about how they're like, you'll have the money for school fees, and the day the kids are done with school fees, you look for that money and
It's
you won't
not
find
there,
it.
yeah.
It just shows that God is faithful and he provides.
Yeah.
And I love the plan and pray and that God is faithful. And one of the words that really encourages me is that, that he's a present help. One of my friends always says, that when you don't even know what to pray, you just tell God, God, just send help. And he always sends help, and he's a present help. Like, yes, for tomorrow, but even for now. Now I'll never forget when I found out I was pregnant with my 4th, and I just walked away from my job. We just shut down one of our biasharas, and we're like, wow. If I just knew this 2 weeks ago, I'd have behaved better. I'd have stayed in my job and all that. And to just see how God just came through, throughout the year and to us being here today, just confirms how faithful God is and that he is present. And so that's what I leave with you and with the audience. And remember, we are so grateful for all of you who've been partnering with us. And if you'd want to join us and be a partner, please send a text to 20316, and the text should read partner. And if you'd want to support us, and thank you in advance as you do so, please use the paybill number 316316, and for account number, put in your number. And again, thank you and God bless you as you give. This has been She. Have a blessed week and see you next week.